and welcome to Your Sparkly Brand. We're here to inspire and empower entrepreneurs like you. This podcast is all about delivering no fluff, high value content that helps you grow your business. Doesn't matter if you have no budget and are still DIYing everything on your own, we're giving you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to build a sparkly empire. I'm Lauren Tassi, your copywriter and launch strategist, and I'm here with the branding, marketing, and design queen, Megan Gersh. Hi, Megan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What was your sparkly moment this week?
So this one, I feel like I've maybe used this one before, but it's a fresh take on it. I have a new client who came to me and like literally as soon as the email landed in my inbox, I was like, yes, this is exactly who I want to work with. And it's a woman launching like a whole community, but it's ultimately going to be an e-commerce store and it's called Party Positivity.
Oh my God, that sounds
Right?
amazing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't care whatever it is, I'm buying it. But it's all about like female empowerment and like celebrating like milestones in our lives that aren't just like when you get married or when you have a baby, but it's like, oh, you started a business and here's, some party decorations or gifts or that kind of thing. So yeah, just sort of one of those where I'm like, yep, that's my client. Thanks for finding me.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I cannot wait to see or hear what you put together for them. That reminds me, I saw this TikTok the other day where people are trying to spread the word of like, I'm not having a baby party. So, and like celebrating that, just like having a party for like, like things that happen and like conscious decisions that people are making to like not have kids or not get married or, do any of the kind of traditional things, but like just to keep celebrating people in general because we're living and that's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. What about you? What was your sparkly moments?
So I just got back from the most incredible retreat. I did not know what I was getting into when I decided to go to this. There was like an education element as well as some like relaxing time and of course networking with the other women that were going to this retreat. But like the quality of the women that were at this retreat were just so top tier. And I feel like I made some like really amazing, genuine connections. And it honestly has like inspired me to like put together a retreat. Like I want to do something like that in the next like year or so. And it was just such a fun experience. It's so refreshing to, again, like we always talk about this on the podcast, but chat with other business owners about different ideas or like bounce different like ideas around with people to see like, how would you do this? Is there any way that I could be improving this? Or like just getting some honest feedback from other business owners is so invaluable. And I just feel like I just got so much value from this retreat that like, number one, I can't wait to go next year if she holds another one. And number two, I want to make my own. So super excited. I'm feeling super sparkly after that weekend.
That is very sparkly. Top tier sparkle.
Yes, exactly. And for those that are wondering, the retreat is put on by Rebecca Simon. The retreat itself is called the Success Society Retreat. And so we can link to that in the show notes. Okay, so today's episode is all about how to delight your clients and your customers. And so this means going the extra mile just to make their experience a little bit more sparkly. So let's talk about why it's important to delight your clients. Mainly, this is just because you want your brand to stand out amongst other businesses that client might be working with. Once somebody has purchased from you, they are much more likely to purchase another thing from you in the future if they're having an amazing experience with you, of course. So in this episode, we're going to break down some of the ways that you can delight your clients and break it down into specifics for service-based businesses versus product-based businesses.
Yes. And then there are two very important points in a customer or client journey where you can really find these moments to delight. And the first one is immediately after purchase, right? Like every time you plug your credit card into something, there's always this, like, I don't care if it's like $5. Like there's always a moment of like, what am I doing? Like, I think we're just like, as humans, we're just trained to be like, what are we spending our money on? What are we getting? And when your experience is either like a service or something sold online, a digital product, or you're buying a physical product, but it's not showing up on your doorstep for a few days, there's just like, you just have like a little bit of immediate buyer's regret just for the fact that you're not having anything tangible in your hands. So if you can do something to get them excited about your product or service and avoid that buyer's remorse, then you will be ahead of the game, right? And that can be as simple as like a great email, right? Like your email confirmation is like fun and catchy and they're like, oh, wow, I am excited to get this product. Or, maybe it is like a little gift or something if it's a high ticket service. There's just all sorts of ways, but that's a great place to do it. The other moment that you really want to solidify that experience is when you're delivering the product or service. And that leaves them feeling great and sort of ends it all with a good taste in their mouth.
Yeah, I think that this definitely gets a little tricky too as the price point kind of like gets higher and higher. I feel like people are more to have like more buyer's remorse, like if the ticket price is higher. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, if you've ever, you've bought like a course, or I'm sure when you like signed up for that retreat or something, you're just like, I never spent this money on something like this before. So whatever you can do to negate that, the better.
Yeah, and that's just your brain honestly just trying to protect you once
Yeah.
again, and your brain saying like, "Oh, like did we really need that, or are we really worth that?" and just making sure that you're getting something in return. But there are also lots of ways that you can delight your clients digitally. So one way that I love to celebrate my clients is on social media. So if they have a win or if they tag me in a post or something like that, I love to repost on my accounts to give them some love right back, or to post a reaction video if that feels appropriate. One other fun way that I like to support them as well is to attend their social media live streams and just to drop questions into the chat. Not only does this kind of feel like it gives them something to talk about on their lives, because like lives, let's face it, can be like a little bit nerve wracking. And so having questions to answer can actually make the lives a little bit easier, but it also gets other people in the chat involved. So they see somebody asking questions, maybe that sparks something within them that they ask like a follow-up question to one of those things. And so it just kind of gets that momentum going in the live. So that's just a little thing that I like to do. If I see somebody's live, I'll pop in there for a few minutes and say hello and just ask them a question or two.
That's so great. Just to like show up and just be a body in a seat, if you will, in a virtual way, just to be there and be a presence and be engaged, even if they're your clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one of my big things that I've learned as I've been, growing my agency is just to like treat the people who work for you like gold, because it then all goes back to your clients and your customers, right? This is sort of like, we've been hearing this for years and years, but it's something I've been able to learn lately. And it's, happy employees deliver high quality work. And that's why whenever I like am talking to somebody who's going to start working for me, I'm just like, yeah, just, I respect weekends. I respect, you don't work for me in a traditional sense. You work when you want to work too. And I know you're going to get it done. So I'm here for you. How can I support you? There's been like, I don't want to say millions of surveys, but I've read a lot of, leadership books and that kind of thing. And happy employees say they're always like people that love the companies they work for. It's because they feel supported. So the more you can do that for your employees, the more they will delight your customers.
Yeah. And think about too, like, I mean, most everyone has worked a job where like maybe your boss was not the best, right? Like, so like think back to like that situation too. And like how, like, if you are now the boss in that situation, like how can you be better? Because if you're happier, you're going to deliver better work. You're going to want to work with that person again. So like treating your employees like gold, or even like the freelancers, whatever you want to call them, is just helpful. Okay. So the next thing is to offer special perks and discounts to encourage repeat business. This is a really, really easy way to get folks that have previously purchased from you to come back and purchase something else. A lot of the time when I'm launching a new offer or something like that, I will go back and I will have like a small roster of people in my head of like, oh, this would be perfect for this past client. And then I will just like shoot them a very informal note being like, hey, I'm launching this thing and it made me think of you. I think that this would be perfect for your situation. And here's why. And kind of just like give them the information that way. Just because, again, like past customers, they're easier to get as a second purchase from you just because like they have worked with you before. They know the results that they can get and they already trust you.
I love that. And I think even just the personal of like, oh, I have this thing and I thought of you is so important. And even if they're like, oh, that's not right now, but it's just keeping that communication going and knowing that you are always looking out for them and what's best for their business.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about what you can do if you are a service provider. How can you like truly blow someone away with your work? And sometimes it's about doing things that maybe aren't in the contract, or maybe that, you normally do 2 revisions, but something it's just we're still not there. So we're going to throw in an extra round of revisions. I'm not talking about like scope creep or anything like that. This is just sort of on a case-by-case situation when you can tell that like really going that extra mile for your client is going to make a difference. So that's what I do sometimes, like offer services they weren't expecting, right? And it depends on the client. Sometimes it's like I can tell they're really nervous about like they're building their own sales page or something, and I can tell they're nervous about getting the copy on the page. I'm like, you know what? When you're done, just send it to me. I'll give it a quick look and you get a second pair of eyes. And they're like thrilled with that, Sometimes I have clients that are just like better on the phone, right? Better on a Zoom call than they are leaving feedback in a document or over email. And I'm like, you know what? Let's hop on a call. I don't normally do this kind of thing, but I can tell that's how you communicate. And I want to communicate the way you communicate so we can create great work together. Another way is to deliver early, right? Who doesn't love that? It's such a simple way. And sometimes it's just like fixing your calendar around the right way so that you can do that and delight people that way. And getting organized organize with file delivery. You want to name files appropriately and organize them into folders. I can tell you as a somebody who works in Google Docs, like at the end, I love to send my clients, here's a folder, here's everything you need. The final drafts are here. Forget about the other drafts. And then also I always tell them to like make sure you save it to your own, hard drive or Google Drive or whatever, just because I'm obviously not going to save it for the rest of my life. So those are some of my suggestions. Do you have any others, Meg?
I mean, I think I just want to kind of reiterate the naming of the files thing is just so important, especially for designers. Like oftentimes I'm handing off, 50 or 60 versions of somebody's logo and all different color formats to them. And so like having that easily labeled where it's like, this is the blue one, this is the green one, et cetera, it saves so much time for both the client and the designer if I need to go back and like change something. And I've had so many clients come back to me being like, wow, like I never knew that this was going to be so organized, and just like really truly delighted with that component. So that can really go a long way. I'll also say it's so important to make working with you as easy as possible. So this means onboarding your client, offboarding your client, using systems like Asana or a CRM system, and kind of cutting out any unnecessary paperwork. And if something doesn't need to be a call, like obviously just shoot it over in a message and just make it really clear, like how you're going to be communicating, what level of communication you're going to be having. It just helps the client to feel very taken care of. And that's what we want. Always telling them like what's coming next is also like a really big component. That's something that I try to integrate into all of my projects. So if I'm giving you this graphic to review or something like that, please let me know. Here are a few questions for the revisions. If you have any edits, please answer these questions and send it back over to me. So that lets them know what they should be doing next and also what the next steps are.
Yeah, that's great. I want to add on to that too, because what I do for my clients is I have basically a template I paste on the first page of every piece of copy that I send. And it's like tips for how to leave feedback. And I give them a deadline. And it's like, for me, it's not usually set in stone, but I think it keeps them moving and it keeps a project from dragging. And just being able to give people direction and information makes their job easier. And it has them spending less time going, what exactly am I doing here? I'm just kind of looking at this document. And maybe they don't do that very often. So anytime there's like a client has a question about your process, that's an opportunity for you to make it better and give more clear direction along the way.
Yeah, I think it's really important too. What you're saying about feedback is that like a lot of the time, like clients, when they receive something for feedback, they won't know how to give that feedback. And so giving those questions to them can often help them to formulate those ideas. It's just like something for them to grasp onto and to actually like give concrete feedback that's going to be helpful to you. So like saying like, let's say I gave you like a graphic that I designed, right? Like saying like, I don't like this is not helpful, but saying like, I don't like the colors, I don't like the fonts. I think that this should feel, more happy or more moody or like whatever. Those are indicators to me of the direction to take rather than just like, I don't like this, just doesn't, it just doesn't help,
Yeah. I've had the same sort of thing where people be like, I want it to be more fun. And I'm like, I love that, but what do you mean by fun? Because there's so many different versions of fun. And that's when I sort of have to go like, well, tell me about what brand you think is fun, or tell me, and you kind of have to dig a little deeper. But yeah, exactly. That's where just giving people some direction versus just what's your feedback?
Exactly.
Another great way to be an excellent service provider for your clients is to give them plenty of notice when you're going to be taking time off. This not only makes like your time off easier, but it lets them know that like you care about your business. And as you're planning your vacation or as you're, planning something else in your life, you're thinking about their business and you care about their business and you don't want them to take a hit just because you're going to be gone for a week. So I always offer, when I can, give months in advance to regular clients. It's just like, hey, so, and like they'll put it in their calendars. They'll remember. I had a client come to me and go, well, I know you're not around next week. And I'm like, oh, actually I canceled that. I can't believe you remember. So I really appreciate that. And then I always offer to like squeeze in extra work. I don't want to miss out on that work. And I don't want their business to have any bumps just because I'm planning to go away when I can plan it in advance.
Yeah, I would say similarly to that, like I always try to let my clients know whenever a busy season for me is coming up. So like I recently just sent out a series of emails to like my reoccurring clients where I'm like, hey, like the holiday season is coming. This is typically my busiest season. I want to get your projects on the books. So if you have anything that is coming up, like let's get that locked in now, just because because like obviously we've worked together on a lot of things and I want to make sure that you're taken care of. And so like being proactive about those types of things can also be really helpful as well. One other thing that I will say when it comes to service-based business is that it can be really helpful to get your client's physical mailing address. I can say when the holidays roll around, I usually like to send my clients a little something in the mail. This can be a card, this can be a small gift. If you are really, really on top of it, you can also send things for birthdays or for special occasions. Let's say one of your clients is getting married or something like that, to send a gift. But it's just nice to have, just so that you can make your clients feel appreciated.
All right, so let's talk about some more product-based business specifics. So one of the things that I think we all think about when it comes to like products is packaging, right? Because that's the tactile experience. And some sort of impressive packaging can go really far. I can think of every single time I've gotten something in the mail and been like, whoa, this is nicer than I expected. It adds value, it makes the experience better. It also, like, they're more likely to post about it, share it with their friends. You can go so far with that moment of delight, and it makes the customer experience so special. One thing I do want to caution about, because I feel like I've seen this, is that sometimes you have to like make sure it aligns with your brand, right? So if you sell eco-friendly products and you're like sending out this really fancy plastic packaging, does that make sense? When the ugly recyclable packaging is actually way more aligned with what you do, and your customers will likely appreciate that more than something shiny and new.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Just that whole conversation, especially when it comes to eco-friendly products. I follow this one girl on TikTok that she posts a lot about how she takes all of her Amazon packages and reuses those boxes and such like that. Just because like she was like, yeah, I still buy from Amazon, but I do recycle all of these packaging materials for my own business. And I kind of like, make sure that it says that on the package just to indicate like this is a reused package, like you're saving the earth. So I think that it can be interesting.
Yeah, I'm seeing that happen more and more. And I'm seeing options when you like check out, like, oh, I want the waste-free packaging, or I want that. Unless it's a gift I'm sending to somebody, I always choose that.
Yeah. You also have the option to send tiny gifts in addition to your regular packages. So this might look like free samples, or it might look like stickers. This is a really easy way to reinforce your branding. And even a handwritten note goes a long way. If you're a small business and you just have some note cards, that can be a really awesome way to add a personal touch to your packaging. One thing I'll say too about like stickers is that that's like another one of those things where it's like very, very cheap to implement, but like think about how many people like put stickers on their water bottles, or like the ripple effect that can have for your brand is just like so massive. Like, because like people put stickers on their water bottles, people put stickers on their laptops, on their phones. You just never know. And so like it could be one of those things where down the line somebody else sees that sticker, if it's like a cool design, and be like, hey, like what is that? And gets that conversation going.
What else? Fast shipping, right? That, like, this is so important. And it's one of those ways that you can surprise people versus the opposite effect of where is my stuff. People hate waiting around for something they've bought. We all do. And unfortunately, like, Amazon has just made it ridiculous. The competitiveness in shipping and what small businesses have to deal with is ridiculous. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. But I think the most important thing is to set realistic expectations around shipping times. That way people aren't, you're not saying, oh, it ships in 2 days and blah, blah, blah. But if they know it takes a week, if it takes 2 weeks and they're prepared for that, that's so much better than the opposite side of disappointment and regret.
Yeah, definitely. That is the worst, when you don't know where your stuff is and you've paid money to a business. Okay. And lastly, I want to talk about impeccable customer service. So if something goes wrong in your business, what do? You most likely want to provide some friendly customer service. You want to make sure that you can turn around the situation with an unhappy customer. And oftentimes, if you handle these situations in a really fast and attentive way, like you can often turn a unhappy customer into a loyal one, just because like people value when they're taken care of. And so like if you're able to remedy that situation, that shows a lot about your character and kind of like your overall brand.
Yeah, I think those are moments where like brands are built, right? And where a customer experience goes from like, oh, this is kind of weird, but they handled it, it's fine, versus like, oh, I'm actually talking to another human who understands like empathy. Because I feel like a lot of times there's just like, I don't know, a script or something in customer service that it's just very much like so rote, where I've had experiences where I've like, whoever I'm chatting with, I'm just like, oh, you're actually like a human and you can make jokes and stuff. So I think those are great ways to delight your customers.
Absolutely.
Well, that is our episode. So I encourage you to take a few of these ideas and implement them into your business. Delighting your customers is such an easy way to build brand loyalty. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, stay sparkly.